And we are live. Welcome everyone to Modwain's House of Fun. And today we're going to have a bit of an open talk. We didn't really have a very strict subject for today. So I'm going to talk about society at large. And this can be anything. Now, we did have a little bit of a preamble in the pre-stream, so to speak. And why am I bringing up this topic now? Well, this is something I mentioned in the pre-stream, but I'm going to mention it now again. The thing about our society is that we are being driven to believe certain concepts, whether these concepts make sense or not. Mainly the concept that nationalism is bad. Why is this such a stupid argument? Well, currently we are in the middle of a World Championship soccer tournament, or football as the most of the world calls it.
Yeah, don't pander to them damn Yankees.
Yeah, indeed. The thing is, we are having this national flavored football matches in the middle of Russia. Is this a big deal? Well, actually, no, it's not, because it's a bloody well fest. There are no big problems. There is no big negativity, but it is all based on nationality. So tell me again, why is nationalism a bad thing if it is, at this point in time, one of the biggest contributing factors to happiness around the world? And this is where I open the floor. Hi there, Malachite, by the way.
Hey, Malachite. Well, I see I see a broader picture than what's just nationalism that's going on. I'll try and put my thoughts quickly and as concisely as possible. I don't want to sound too conspiracy theorist. I hate that conspiracy theorist, but I see trends, and I asked myself a question. In the West, this is what you're bringing up about nationalism is bad type of thing is in the West, Western societies. It's the preamble, a presupposition that you're talking about the West.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the West going for ideologies that has not pan-nationalism, pushing a narrative, pushing a path to what could be described as no nations, basically with immigration from other countries and other cultures, bringing in new elements that appear to be replacing that appear to want to replace the natives of the Western countries. Why do governments, and especially multi-billion-dollar multinationals companies, push globalization so much? Why do they want to push on what can be described as a socialistic pathways, yet bring in peoples who are totally and very, very conservative? I asked that question to myself, and I just basically said, well, they want to basically instill fear, make the Western countries unstable. And what happens when a society becomes unstable? They ask the powers that be to protect them, right? They ask
it's more than that, though.
It's the most.
No, because you mentioned the corporations, right?
Yeah.
The corporations also benefit from cheap labor.
But the cheap labor is not what is basically driving them at the moment. They can get cheap labor anywhere. But in the West,
to simplify. No, it's a mistake to simplify it to one factor and think it only has to be one thing.
But I'm not. I'm making this as broad as I can. If you can see hundreds of such a broad base of actions that are being taking place. You're going from simple things like most newspapers pushing one narrative, most giant tech companies which have the power pushing to one side, alienating. It's clearly alienating vast swathes of populations in the West, and not just any country. I'm talking about the whole of the West. There's the same thing. It's happening everywhere. And I asked that question: why a government would then be called upon, a government or whatever, to provide security to the people? That if you provide security, you give away some of your rights because they enact measures that don't allow you to basically defend yourself. You see that in Europe, not in the United States at the moment, but it's happening. They're pushing it with gun control and hate speech laws and curtailing of freedom of speech, all those sort of actions. If you tie everything that you see in the media, in everywhere in the West, etc., it all appears to be very, very loosely linked, but it's heading towards one direction to make the West unstable.
Yeah.
And then what happens? After you become basically at the mercy of a government, then the corporations who own governments, they can then, like you said, super cheap wages or almost slave labor, basically. That sort of thing. That it does sound damn conspiracy theories, but I think
where it's coming from.
Yeah. Why would companies like Google, knowing that if they go SJW, they lose money? The quartering, what's his name? Jeremy, I don't know his second name. He talked about if companies that go woke, they go broke.
Jeremy Hembley.
Hembley, thank you. Yeah. Why is it that companies do that if they know that they're pandering to such a minority that they won't sell? Star Wars, all the movies that are coming out now, except a few of them that just there's no room for SJW bullshit in there, like the Transformers and that, or Marvel Universe, sort of just action, blow up people, everything like that, and they kill most of the men anyway. So there's nothing. As it has been since the dawn of Hollywood. And Hollywood, you see, not just Hollywood, everything. Why do they pander to this small minority? Because they know that in the long run, the instability they cause in the society, it will benefit them when they control everything, when the people are basically reduced to serfs again. Yeah. So that's my sort of rant. And to get this on to, yeah.
I think you made a good point, but there's a difference between nationalism then and the societies that we are living in and the way they are being treated. Because you're talking about how, because of globalism, we are forced into a diversity standpoint, which you can argue is right or wrong. But funny enough, diversity in itself doesn't have to counter nationalism. It depends on the cultural cohesiveness of your diversity.
Oh, absolutely. That's why the Eastern European countries, which were just recently left a dictatorship, they are reluctant to go back into another one.
So but the funny thing is, because you're correct, but if we look at, for example, Hungary, Poland, they are taking in loads of refugees from the Ukraine. No one ever talks about that, but this is actually happening.
No, exactly. But they're the wrong type of refugees. They don't provide. Those refugees don't cause instability because the cultures are very, very similar. The language is different, but it's not a totally alien way of life. They have similar background histories that go back in time.
Yeah. Well, actually, Alicia is saying something really useful in the chat. They want to keep the world dry and go back to a feudalistic system with rich corporations at the top. And funny enough, this is what a plutocracy is.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to figure out when I said I don't know the term. Yeah. Plutocracy, yeah.
And in all fairness, because people keep talking about how the Western world is capitalistic, we haven't been capitalistic for more than 100 years. But people don't want to see this. As soon as you start protecting corporations, you're turning your head away from what capitalism is.
Yep. Exactly. Yes.
And yeah, and indeed, Malachi, white refugees don't seem to count. The refugee is a victim, and white victims don't get the notice. We see this, for example, with the farmers out of South Africa.
I was going to do that. I sent it. I don't know who I sent a tweet to or something. I think it was. I wrote on Sargon's Facebook that if you want to see the left in the United States push for border control, is I would get a big boat, go to South Africa, pick up all the white farmers, and sail into the United States. You watch the outcry. No. You would see them. They would not say no. Please bring back ice. Yeah. But it's like I said. It's a something to cause instability in a country. It's not one thing. It's like
Well, if we look at ICE in America, ICE's job is more than just border patrols and border security. It's also people smuggling, people trafficking. I mean, they are now so high on trying to stop ICE, whilst ICE for the last few months has been cracking down on pedophilia rings. Is it a coincidence that now all of a sudden everyone is against ICE?
Exactly. Well, not everyone, it's just the left.
Well, yeah.
The left. When I say left, I mean the extreme left, the alt left. Let me just say the alt left, because
I mean,
I am left.
Center left is dying in America because most center left people in America can no longer recognize themselves in the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
but in Europe,
exactly, yeah.
In Europe, a lot of people still recognize themselves as left.
Who are which are basically center left, because I've already said this many times, in Portugal, all our governments are very centrist. Even our communists and our far left, the left bloc, and our Greens, they are very centrist in many of their policies. So, and the right is they even call our most far right party the centrists, which the Social Democrats are to the left of them. So you can imagine that the Social Democrats would be, let's see.
Well, socialism would be left.
No, but it's a social it's more of a social democrat, not the new term. It's more what would be center left half a generation ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was Labour be much way before Cameron, or possibly in the Second World War, sort of. They were centre leftish.
Yeah,
they weren't. They abhorred the communists.
I wouldn't even call them centre left, to be honest. If we look at the non-red Labour parties throughout the Western world, and I know Labour is red, just like the P van de A's in the Netherlands, but at the time they were more social than socialistic. They still had a capitalistic backbone to them, but they recognized that a healthy market needs a healthy worker.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. They're not socialistic; they're social.
Yeah,
which there is a distinction between the two.
Yeah, quite big distinction, actually. So, but knowing this, how bad is it to recognize that you can be a nationalist? I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not talking about nationalist socialist. I'm not talking about nationalist capitalist. Merely saying you can be a nationalist.
In Portugal, there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone waves the flag and pushes for the country. I mean, even the most extreme leftist here, they still because they will be absolutely shamed out of existence if they ever desecrate anything to do with the Portuguese nationhood. We don't mind being in the European Union as long as because we're getting benefits. They stop the benefits for something, we will rebel. And I mean, we've done it before. We've done it to every nation that has tried to conquer Portugal or that has tried to rule it. They won't last long here because we can be fucking cunts. We can be the most obnoxious people on earth if we have to be. But as long as the European Union is giving us money, free money, no worries. We'll do it. We'll pass the laws. Yeah, we'll pass the laws. As soon as we see that there's no benefit in it, we will. They will have to kick us out because we can be.
It's weird though because
it is. It is weird here in Portugal. It's I can't. Things that I see from YouTube and everything from other places, they would be abhorrent here. They would not stand a second. No, there's no op-eds saying the Portuguese flag, the Portuguese anthem, the Portuguese people, anything about Portugal should be denigrated or put down or whatever. No, because they how do I say, they elevate Portugal as much as they can, even if it's just for propaganda reasons. Because even the young people here, it's just basically soccer, football. Everything resolves around football. Yeah, it's the biggest private money-making entity that we have. Well, everything else is public, basically, and sort of. But football is what generates so much money that and it's totally nationalistic and tribalistic. I mean, damn, within it we are bloody tribal as fuck. So,
yeah, but that's the thing, though. There's nothing wrong with being tribal. Humans are tribal, whether we like it or not. We're herd animals.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're not herd animals, but we are tribal. 90% of our human history, of our human Homo sapiens lived on Earth, and before that, it's only the last 10% of time that we have become social. Or else we were just basically small, extended bands, extended families.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying we are herd animals, because this is what we see. If you look at cows, for example. Dairy farmers have lots of cows. Okay. They will, if you put a group of cows next to a group of cows of another dairy farmer, they will treat each other with, carefulness. They wouldn't be open to each other as easily as they would to their own herd. But once herds are being put together for a prolonged period of time, they will no longer become reluctant to interact with each other. And this is true for humans as well. This is true for sheep. This is true for fish. It's kind of inherent in the herd mentality. Now, tribal thinking, group thinking is basically herd mentality, which is not a problem if two groups come together and they will share the herd. But if two groups come together and one group will strongly self-identify in a certain way, and the other group is not allowed to do the same thing, you will have a lot of infighting. Eventually, the group with a strong self-identity will stay coherent with itself, and the other group will basically disintegrate. And this is what we're seeing.
I have to sort of disagree with that. We probably became herd animals once agriculture was invented and cities were developed. Until then, we were not herd animals. We were pack animals.
Well, fair enough. Pack herd is the same thing.
No, a herd is a herd of cattle. A pack is a pack of wolves. Can you see the difference how their structures are and how they are?
Actually, the structures aren't that huge.
They are. There's no hierarchical structure within a herd. It's basically the males and the females. Yeah, some older females lead to eat, but the wolves is strictly social, strictly stratified socially.
Yeah,
and
well, they do have a stronger hierarchy.
Yeah, and a herd can be millions, while a pack can be tens.
No. A pack can be as big as the food supply allows it to be.
That's why I said tens, and there's also not just the food supply; it's also
we have known of packs of like 50 wolves.
Tens. That's what I said. Yeah, tens.
Okay, fair enough.
Not thousands, but tens. Yes, absolutely.
But that's based on the food supply.
Food supply, exactly. Yes, and
would there be a bigger food supply? Then
the packs would have. Oh no, but they always splinter. They get to that point. They never go past that point where a herd can just keep on growing.
True that. This is why I do think that humans are more like herd animals than wolves.
Now they are, because of the cities, but like I said, 90% of our human history, we were pack animals. We had the leaders, but not as strict socially as the wolves do. Obviously, there's no strict social hierarchy. It was more of a follow the most able.
Yeah,
and plus a shaman, most likely.
Wolves are a great example on how societies could behave, though. I mean, leaders lead from behind.
Yeah, we hate. Humans have always competed against wolves, and we sort of hate them because they were a mirror of our society.
Yeah. Well, if we look at, for example, in the Nordic history, Nordic mythology, wolves and ravens actually do have a very strong position in the storylines. Kind of funny because we know that ravens and wolves worked together, even though most people did not recognize it until I think a year ago or something that they finally recognized it. This is something which was already known by most Germanic tribes, but.
Nick has made an awesome post in the chat. From the Matrix, we're not a pack or a herd, we're a virus.
yeah, I see that movie too, Nick.
That is also very poignant.
Yeah,
we sort of now behave like a virus. We're destroying the host.
Well, I disagree with that, though. I mean, everyone's talking about how we are destroying the world.
It's a very loose analogy, of course, obviously.
It's utter crap. No, but we don't have enough room on this world for this many people. You know what? Everyone can have a single house with half an acre of land, and still all the world would fit in Texas.
Or the whole of human population, yeah.
All the human population. Sorry, you're correct.
Yeah, but then you just the problem is not actually the population size or anything. It's feeding it basically.
But yeah, so how can you? But that's another thing. I mean, if we look at the world now, there's a lot of food coming from Europe, Latin America, and America.
And Asia as well. Asia produces.
Asia, fair enough. If we look at the continent of Africa, if we look how much food actually comes out of the continent of Africa, it's how can I say this best?
A pittance.
It's a pittance. It's disturbing how few
cash crops there.
Well, yeah, they do have cash crops.
That's basically just cash crops. Africa, they just want to produce cash crops.
But I mean, they have. I mean, it's like Venezuela now, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria. These countries have great growing seasons, and they're not producing food. We produce more food than can be eaten, which is completely true, Elisha. Most of it is unfortunately also a bit thrown away. But the feed the world principle isn't that hard. The problem becomes when people have to show responsibility. Everyone talks about Give a man a fish he eats for a day. Teach a man a fish he eats for the rest of his life. Yeah, but not in certain cultures. I mean, if we look at the Middle East, if we look at South Africa, if we look at more socialist-tended countries, they always run out of food. I don't understand this. They always run out of food. They still have enough tobacco, for example, but they will not have food.
Like I said, it's not a cash crop.
It's beyond me. But people should be proud more of their heritage, of their country. And that's not just for Europeans. This is true for every country out there. This is true for every religion out there. This is true for everyone. You should be more recognizing your own heritage. You should be more proud of your own heritage. This is not saying other heritages aren't good. No. But you should be more proud of your own. Because like this, you will recognize what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is not, let's kill other people. No. Let's keep our house in order. Let's clean our shit. Let's make sure that we have enough food for the people that live here.
Exactly. The Jordan Peterson analogy of clean your room first.
Yeah.
That can be applied to everything.
And the worst part is that this is such an old message. It's such a very, very old message. Even in the Bible, they talk about how you should do what needs to be done first. And the Bible isn't the first religion that brought this. Hell, the Code of Hammurabi already spoke on how to protect your society by doing what needs to be done. And I don't mind you being proud of being an American, Alicia. I mean, you're still European in my book.
Like I said, it's Western culture, or
well, it is Western culture.
Yeah, or more, Western culture. And Far Eastern culture is also the same. It's just that middle bit that's unfortunate.
Well, it depends on what Far Eastern culture you're talking about. I mean, if we're talking
China,
about
Japan, Korea,
yeah.
Even the ancient Khmers, even Thailand, even the Vietnam area, up in there, they have the culture, their culture promotes work ethics. That's why they're
If you look at Asia, if you look at Europe, if you look at the Western world in general, and this is why Asia and the rest of the Western world seem to be going well together, as good as they go. China is the exception in this. On average, they have the same ethics. They have a workman's ethic.
Yeah,
stuff needs to be done. If you have that ethic, you will be more successful. Do the things that need to be done, and once those things are done, look on to new things. And funny enough, if I'm going to go back to whether nationalism is a good or a bad thing, if you look at what nationalism was all about making sure that the things that needed to be done were done. And funny enough, even if we go back into history in feudal Europe, this is an image that I've seen a long, long time ago, and obviously I haven't seen it for a long time, and I can't find it. I have been looking for it not too long ago. Between the Netherlands and Belgium and France, there has been a lot of fightings. And the English came and the French came. And part of Belgium used to be part of the Netherlands. And there's an image of a woman milking a cow, whilst in the background, the French army and the English army are clashing. And then the narrator says, "But don't you recognize that there's a war going on?" And the woman basically answers, whether we call it milk, or late, my French is bad, the bloody cow still needs to be milked.
Yeah.
And that is the attitude. No war No warrior has ever been able to destroy that attitude in the Western world. Socialism has, funny enough. Critical theory has. But back in the days, things needed to still be done. Now, hypernationalism isn't a good thing. No, indeed, Alicia, I agree with you. To say my nation or my nationality is the best is hyper. That's stupid. Be proud of the heritage if you want to be. You don't have to be, but you can. But don't try to deny the heritage of others.
Look again, Portugal. I have both. I have the Anglo-Saxon culture and Portuguese culture, which is very, very similar, by the way. Here, we have always. Oh, should I've tried to? We are nationalistic in a sense that we want to get the best out of everyone we meet. In fact, our sense of identity, the Portuguese sense of identity, is so strong that even after about 300 years of not, we expanded in the 14th century, and we had colonies in what is now Indonesia, the Malacca Straits, Indonesia and Malaysia. There are still people, a small community there, which speak Portuguese very, very badly, but they speak Portuguese. They have Portuguese name. They have Portuguese culture. 300 years after we left.
Yeah.
So that is what a nationalism, the good nationalism is.
Yeah. And the thing is, high desert pioneer nationalism only benefits is to prevent foreign invasion. You know, that is not really true. Because nationalism also drives, how do you call it, ontwikkeling, development. Because the more nationalistic a country is, the more people are willing to invest in it. And the most important investment people can put into a country is not money, it's time. I mean, yeah, you can pay for certain things, but once you are willing to put in the time for it, and paying is another way of doing that, you can actually increase a country's overall status. Well, individual efforts drive development. Yes, you're correct. But nationalism is a great way of getting people to put in those efforts. Nationalism can create a loyalty to one's own culture. The bad parts, yes, but the finer parts as well. Now, and this is the important thing, and this is why I say nationalism, but not ethnical nationalism. But this is why I always keep pushing for the cultural cohesive state, by the way. If we look at, for example, people going to live in another country, and they are becoming part of that country. This is, for example, great. If we look in America, there is a large group of Hispanics in America that will identify first as American and then as Hispanic, because they came into the country, they wanted to be part of the country, and are now fighting for America. The greatest example of this is the fact that the Border Patrol in America is more than 50% Hispanic. But these are not people waving the Mexican flag. These are people waving the American flag. So they are of a different ethnicity, but they are part of the American national system. I think it's different over the pond than here. Maybe it is. Yeah, there are more countries here. Then again, one moment. Hey, Crusader Soulmate.
Hey, Crusader.
By the way, John and Real Raven, I haven't heard you guys.
Yeah, I tried to talk.
Well, go on then.
No, earlier. And no, because I was disagreeing with what I thought an oversimplistic and very, what's the word? conspiracy theorist idea of Carlos, because
it does sound, yeah, it does sound, but
no, here's the thing, right? Okay, what I think the fundamental problem isn't that there's one group who are driving everything. I think the problem is you've got lots of groups, all of whose interests have coincided, even though ideologically them being supporting each other makes no sense. And so you've got an explicit aim of the whatever you want to call them, postmodernist, cultural Marxists or whatever, to overthrow society, and they wrote out how they were going to do it, and they were going to do it with mass immigration and destroying men and all the things they've been doing. Okay?
Yeah.
So we don't have to make that up. That is said, that's what they wanted to do. Unfortunately, if you run a big corporation, I've watched the business pressures, and sometimes you've got you have an employee market, and sometimes you have an employer market. What does mass immigration do? It creates an employer market. And what are all the complaints from so many working people? They can't get jobs. The price they get paid for the job is kept low because people come in and work for less. Yet their cost of living, there's less housing. They can't afford the housing. And none of those pressures affect the people at the top. They only affect the people at the bottom. So it's no good saying, oh, it's people who want to destroy it. And they unfortunately have found willing accomplices in corporatists who think, well, we don't have to worry about too much wage bargaining because we can just replace them with these immigrants.
well, that's basically what I said. But that creates instability in a nation. That's my point.
No. What I'm saying is,
I'm sorry, guys. I have to interrupt this for a second. You can continue, but I need to be AFK. So go on.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying. You were saying it's because they want to destroy it. I wouldn't say that the corporates want to destroy it.
No, not the corporations. They don't want to destroy it. They want to create instability by using other means that appear to destroy.
No, corporations want stability.
But they want stability. They want a market.
Yeah.
And they want
markets disintegrate under instability.
Not necessarily. Instability is just fear. It's the initial part is instability. Look at the 20th century. The examples in the 20th century.
Yeah.
Early the 30s, we had that massive. We had the Great Depression. I'm not saying that it was caused by that just happened. It was just greed, human greed, right?
Well,
yeah, it was human greed. They bought more the unregulated markets. They just sold more than the stock exchanges was over. Well, they went mad.
The problem is it's ironic. All the complaints one can make as a free marketeer, you can levy against the stock system, the money markets.
Exactly, but do you see that that's just one aspect of the broader picture, the jobs market? That's not just the jobs market.
Yeah, and what happened?
The court system, the collapse of the court systems has nothing to do with the economic policy.
No. Sorry. You mentioned the 30s, and my brain was taking a while.
Okay, the 30s, yeah.
Right.
What happened there?
So my whole point. What happened? The economy died.
Exactly, and then the communists started agitating.
The corporations don't want that. Okay, the corporations want stability. They want nice, healthy market conditions. They want people to buy stuff. People will not buy stuff if there's massive uncertainty.
But that's just one aspect, one little point, one branch.
Yeah, it's one side of it, and I was saying it as I'm saying that some of the people driving this may want to attack society, and other people driving it happen to want a healthy, stable society, and yet they're doing similar policies in concert with each other.
I don't see that many people wanting to help the stability because they are in the West. I'm not talking about any other, but in the West, the North America, Europe, and Australasia. The main driving powers of the world's economy up and even today, right? We see in these places political turmoil. We see economic growth within that political turmoil. It's nothing to do with the economic side. It's to do with the social side, to control the society. The rest of the world the societies are controlled by, to some degree, to some extent, dictatorships of varying severity. Only in the West is been free since at least World War II. And I see a pattern of turning that around through many measures, not just mass immigration is one. The media is another. The media, the way the media is going is another way. The way the court systems in many countries are going, they're not doing justice. They're doing, I don't know what.
Okay. The media, the courts, they've all been infected by people who've been educated in postmodernist.
That's just one small aspect, because the governments could say, look, these are the laws, they have to be followed. It's happening in the Eastern Europe.
And the politicians.
In Portugal, we follow the law. We follow the law. Still yet.
The law?
Yeah, we have the vaguest laws in the world. We supposedly have the quote unquote the bestly drawn up laws in the world. Yet, it takes 3 years to go to court, but justice is served. But it's just served so fucking late. Okay. We put pedophiles in jail for a long time, and all those crimes, bad crimes, we put them out. We don't have what do you call it? A sentencing gap as such. The difference is possibly the smallest in the Western world.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not general.
You painted a grand narrative.
I do, and I'll stick with it. You have to look at a grand picture.
Carlos,
it's hard.
Carlos, you painted a grand narrative. I was questioning the details of that narrative, not to destroy the narrative, but to broaden it. And then you say yes. And then you say yes. So why say no when I tried to...
No, sorry. I meant yes. I did. I was giving you another example.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we agree, I think. I think we agree.
Well, this is what puzzles me.
Yeah.
Anyway, to bring it back a little bit. So there is something to be said for nationalism.
Yes, of course there is.
Yeah.
Portugal's proud of its slavery past and its slave. We started the Atlantic slave trade. We're proud of that. It was our glorious history. Mm-hmm. You don't see anyone here in Portugal disparaging that.
Well, it's part of the history. I mean, I like the fact that in the Netherlands, the people are very happy that the Netherlands had over 400 years of friendly relationship with Turkey. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not really true, because part of that friendly relationship we had with Turkey was the Dutch government paying the jizya. And friends don't demand money of each other.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we are being fed a false narrative from time to time. So in a way, I can understand Portuguese people being proud of the transatlantic slave trade because it is part of their history. I mean, that doesn't mean that they are in favor of it now.
We're not proud of it as per se. We're proud of the period that it occurred because it was an expansion, and we recognize that it was the most horrific thing you can do. We recognize it. We teach it in our schools. Look, this was horrible, but we did it.
Yeah,
we're not going to cover it up.
Well, that's the thing. You can say. I mean, it's like the British. We're proud we ended slavery and didn't just end slavery, but then set out to rid the world of the slave trade.
Yeah. The Dark Conservative. Guys, I'm still interested in joining. I just got off of work and I'm about to shower and then I'll join. In all fairness, mate, I'm going to stop in a moment, about 20 minutes more, because old man is still not too powerful.
Old men are old, just say it.
Yeah, well.
Hey, I'm older than you, so I can.
But I was thinking about maybe both doing the streams shorter, but maybe do a second stream per week. So twice an hour instead of once 2 hours. Yeah, well, the second one will be tricky because I have no idea on what day.
Well, that's the thing, you see, because the stream market, so to speak, is getting very crowded.
It is indeed. And yeah, I mean, sorry. See, there I go. That's the problem with us being in Europe and them being in America as well.
Yeah.
They're on the wrong time zone. That's their problem.
Hey, well, consider our economy, Carlos.
What?
Well, he only just gets up, for your streams, if you mix it.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I'm on GMT.
1 second. Dark Conservative.
No, I'm saying our economy.
What would be a good time?
Yeah, economy. He just gets, that's even worse.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's like there isn't a good time.
No, but Dark Conservative and Alicia, I mean, you guys are in America. What would be a good time for you based on let's say an hour from now, 2 hours from now, or 10 hours before now? What would be a good time for you guys? Because I do like to hear from people like Alicia and Nick and Dark Conservative. I do enjoy him in the Twitter group, to be honest. So I want to try. I was already thinking about because a 2 hour stream might be a little bit long. And lately, I've noticed that we would have great streams, and then halfway we start discussing. And then we ramble on for another hour.
Yeah, well, we do a lot better than some streams, which seem to be rambling on from the start.
that is absolutely true. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you see these streams, you see 2,000 people watching, and they're just. You could overlisten someone in a pub who was more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the whole committee thing, isn't it? I mean, bitching and moaning.
That's supposed to be a discussion. I'm just talking about people chatting to their mates about literally shit. Yeah.
Well, I have to think about this because I am thinking about doing 1 hour streams instead of 1 2 hour stream.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having a focused topic, but you keep picking these very, very vague things.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, it's not always vague, but like today, I mean, it seems very vague, but to me, it's quite.
Yeah. So the thing to do, I would suggest, really suggestion, is to put a little thought into framing the question. You see what I'm saying? You know what you mean that would make it concise, but you just said, we're going to talk about society. So nobody else is privy to that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's just a matter of saying, I want to talk about society, and then you explain in a nutshell what
It's
you're...
actually about nationalism.
No, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It's
Yeah,
something I need to think
just,
about.
just to help people channel their thoughts, because the trouble is, we will all go off on tangents anyway, which is what you were talking about.
Which I'm part of as well, so I'm not even blaming anyone for that.
No, I'm just saying, you were saying, oh, and then after a while, think off. And that happens automatically in a conversation. But if we don't know the general thread to be kept to, that's much easier to do, is all I'm sort of trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair point. Fair point indeed. Okay, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have no idea what time. I mean, it's midnight here.
It's 6 hours.
God, American time zones are so bizarre. I think
Austin is
standard.
Austin is central, isn't it? Yeah, it's central. Yeah, Austin, Texas, central. So it's 6 hours difference. It's midnight here.
Yeah. I was going to say you've got
midnight
which
1
is 5.
Yeah.
You've got Central, which is 2. Mountain, which is 3, and then I think Pacific, which is 4.
Yeah, exactly. I have it all in my watch here. New York is 5. That's from my time, general GMT +1 London time.
Yeah.
And
then pesky Europeans chose to be awkward.
Yeah, in San Francisco it's 3:26 p.m. at right now. In New York is 6:26, and in Austin it's 5:26.
Okay.
Because Tim Pool does this. He says, "Yes, I upload at 4 every day," and I have literally no idea what time zone he's talking about.
4.
4. Okay. 4.
Oh yeah, that's mountain time.
Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for a nice hangout again. We did have a good talk.
I think so.
We didn't come to blows.
We never come.
Oh, that's one of the reasons why I'm limiting the time. That's
I don't
rubbish.
think we ever come to blows. We like to disagree, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Sorry, I was being flippant, mate.
No, you weren't. Don't apologize. That's absolutely fine, my friend. I've had you wouldn't believe that the heated debates I used to have at the cafe. My dad got embarrassed. Even my dad would be embarrassed with me. But never did we ever threaten anyone, about 2 people or 3 people I was always arguing with. Always after we finished, we'd buy a round of beers to each other, a couple of rounds. So, yeah. So never. We basically agreed. I know I went a little bit off because it's so difficult, this tendency that I still haven't fully grasped it. But yes, you are absolutely right. What you said is absolutely right. Yes, I agree with you. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you agree, I'm happy.
Yes, absolutely.
All in agreement here. Okay, Real Raven, you want to say anything?
Nope.
Okay, anything to shill?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay, John?
Nah.
Carlos?
You guys know where to find me. Mondays, same time, same place.
Yeah, he's got great stuff, guys. I really
He does.
advise people to go check it out. It's especially if archaeology or ancient history is to your liking. By the way, I think but no, this is from the after stream, Carlos. I have something. Maybe I have something. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Sorry, Dark Conservative.
Thanks for having us.
I hope I will find a better time slot for you, because I do want you in sooner or later too. Same goes for everyone else. Thank you for coming, Crusader. Thank you for coming, Alicia, and the High Desert, and Nick, who already left. And
all awesome people.
Yeah, great. It's always
because that's the thing, because he's still working hours in parts of the States, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, normally I would be free from work now, because I work till 11, but it's 1:30 now, and I'm still a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to call it quits. And considering no one else has anything to say, I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for coming.
Well, thank you for having us.
Exactly. An absolute honor.
Yeah, it was good fun. Anyway, bye-bye, everyone.